Homicide in Jasper County.
Lawmakers press for answers at a hearing about what went wrong on January 6th. I'm Madeline Rivera on Capitol Hill with more on what the men in charge of security that day have to say.
And we learn the story of Sojourner Truth.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Court documents reveal the suspect charged with a double homicide in Jasper County says he committed the murders after learning how his girlfriend died. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, the Jasper and Newton County Sheriff's offices are working together on a homicide investigation. Newly released court documents show it was the boyfriend of the victim found in Newton County who shot and killed a couple in Avila, Missouri. The documents show 24-year-old Kevin Clay Johnson admitted to going to an Avila home on Saturday to see his girlfriend, Briley O'Banion. When he arrived, Johnson says he was told by Mason McClure that McClure and Nicole Hodges killed O'Banion. Johnson says shortly after he shot both McClure and Hodges. On Sunday, officers found both McClure and Hodges dead with multiple gunshot wounds, and later that evening, Newton County authorities found the body of 25-year-old Briley O'Banion in a ditch in Newton County. An autopsy to determine the cause of her death is underway. Authorities quickly developed Kevin Johnson as a suspect and made the arrest. He is charged in Jasper County with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of armed criminal action. Well, boy, what a difference a week makes. Michael Hayslip joins us with a first look at a much warmer forecast.
You're gonna make me take the old remote and stick it in my pocket.
Sure.
That's as long as it's been.
Wow.
That's it right there. Because 7 days ago, 15 below zero. 15 below zero is where we sat. Beautiful Skywatch storm tracker. Now keep that into perspective, because right now we sit at 67 degrees at the Freeman Health System sky camera. We're only at the noon hour. You have to remember, this time of year we usually don't top out till about 2, 3 o'clock. So we're going to throw some 70s on the board. What a difference. As a matter of fact, remember all that snow? Just on Friday, we had all that snow on campus. Think of the distant past right now. 60 in Pittsburgh. Let's go 68 in Miami. Still a little bit cooler up to the north, 57 and 56 in Fort Scott and Nevada, respectively. But a nice south wind warming everybody up. We actually had a wide differential of temperatures this morning. Now we're kind of nestled together. And like I said, we'll go 68 is kind of like the average between the north and the south. But we're certainly going to see some 70s by the time it's all said and done. And the nice thing is it's not as blustery as it was yesterday. And that wind's going to calm down after sunset. That will take place at 6:06. Now for future track, do want to point out, you're going to see just a sliver of green pop up here on Wednesday. And that's the extent when we get to the 7-day forecast and we talk about our rain. It's actually going to move from north to south. Not a pattern that we see that often, but 95% of the 4 states going to stay on the dry side. Now our temperatures do kind of even out after that. This is what we would expect for this time of January. But coming off of the past 14 days, or February, excuse me, but coming off of the past 14 days, we can't complain about anything, because anytime we see precipitation, it's nice to see rain, and that would be rain. That's all it will be, Tanya.
Rain means more mud.
It means no snow, though.
Yeah, we'll take that. That'll be good. All right, thanks, Michael. President Biden orders U.S. flags to be flown at half staff this week to mourn the 500,000 Americans who have died from the coronavirus. He held a moment of silence and candlelight ceremony to mark the grim milestone yesterday evening. President Biden is promising better days ahead. Vaccine manufacturers are testifying virtually today and are expected to tell lawmakers they're ramping up production to reach a target of 220 million shots by March 31st. Meanwhile, Democrats on the Hill are working to pass the administration's $1.9 trillion economic relief plan. Lawmakers are looking for answers into the security failures during the January 6th assault on the Capitol. Today, the Senate holds a joint hearing with 2 committees questioning the men in charge of security that day. Madeline Rivera has more details from Capitol Hill.
Lawmakers have called the former heads of security for the U.S. Capitol to give answers about what went wrong on January 6th.
There's no question that there were colossal breakdowns in the intelligence gathering and security preparations leading up to the events of January 6th, as well as during the coordination and response efforts once the attack got underway.
The former law enforcement officers say the failure started before January 6th.
Based on the intelligence that we received, we plan for an increased level of violence at the Capitol and that some participants may be armed. But none of the intelligence we received predicted what actually occurred.
And they denied that the National Guard was not put on alert out of concern about what that might look like.
Let me be clear. Optics, as portrayed in the media, played no role whatsoever in my decisions about security.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle say they are angry over the failures to protect the U.S. Capitol. And today's hearing is just the first in a series of hearings looking into the matter.
We need to know what happened and how to ensure this never happens again. It's that simple.
Congressional leaders are also working on setting up an independent commission to further investigate the assault and report on the causes. Malin Rivera, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Justice Department moves ahead with criminal investigations into those who breached the Capitol. To date, the government has filed charges against 273 people, and more are still being looked at as the FBI pores over the evidence. Well, thousands of sea turtles that were rescued from freezing water in Texas have now been returned to the sea. Now, these are images from last Wednesday when several conservation groups pulled the creatures from the water after a deep freeze gripped the state. Now that the weather has heated up, the turtles are able to go back home. Good news. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at Noon.
This statue in New York City Central Park is part of renewed interest in the legacy of Sojourner Truth. I'm Elise Preston with a look at how a woman born into slavery became a leading abolitionist and women's rights activist.
And later, we're making lemon butter fish fillets in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. An integral figure of Black history in the U.S. receives a new round of recognition and honors more than 200 years after her birth. Elise Preston has the true story behind Sojourner Truth.
In the quiet upstate New York town of Esopus, next to a pizza shop, you'll find a small memorial with a statue of a girl who would grow up to become a larger-than-life figure in American history.
I am a woman's rights. I have as much muscle as any man.
Those powerful words of Sojourner Truth can be heard in an online production from Pittsburgh's Prime Stage Theater.
I saw what God had in store for me, and I became more determined than ever to carry it out.
Actress Delana Flowers portrays the women's rights and anti-slavery pioneer.
I am grateful for the opportunity to show the power of a Black woman who chose to fight for this country, for her people.
The past few months have been monumental for Truth. Over the summer, she was put on a pedestal in Manhattan Central Park with Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. And another new statue stands near the Hudson River. Truth's sixth-generation grandson, Corey McLeachy, was there to celebrate the unveiling.
I explained to my kids, I was like, you represent a very important woman who has an amazing legacy.
This statue is near where Truth was born into slavery around 1797. She was given the name Isabella and separated from her parents around the age of 9.
The first time I was ever sold off like a piece of property.
She was regularly beaten, and it's believed one owner repeatedly raped her.
Later on, Master Dumont married me off to one of his older slaves.
The mother of 6 eventually escaped to freedom in 1826. A year later, the state of New York abolished slavery, but one of her children had been sold.
The large family that owned Isabella and her children sold her son Peter into another branch of the family in the South, where he would be a slave for life.
Biographer Nell Painter tells how Truth boldly sued for custody of Peter and won.
All the power was stacked against her, but she went to court. She used the law. She got her son back.
The historic case raised her profile with abolitionists, and she changed her name.
Why the name Sojourner Truth?
Okay, she did choose that name. Truth was what she was preaching, and Sojourner was that she was a moving preacher.
The moving preacher went on lecture tours, challenging racial and gender inequality.
You need not be afraid to give us our rights, for fear that we will take too much.
Truth even met with President Lincoln, so it's fitting a sculpture of her sits in Emancipation Hall, the first to honor a black woman in the United States Capitol. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
More memorials for Truth are planned for later this year in 2 states. The Prime Stage Company production of Sojourner runs through this Friday. Still to come on the KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Food.
We've got an idea for dinner tonight that's faster than fast food. Join us and make sure you bring your appetite.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
What a difference a span of 7 days makes. Last week, this Tuesday, we were setting a record low for February 16th. Today, while we're not going to set a record high, it's almost going to feel like spring. What a beautiful sight outside of Television City. You can tell we still got a thin line of snow rolling right there, but I think by the time the afternoon is over, we will be done. Not going to challenge the record. It's a recent record, albeit. 2017, we reached up to 83 degrees, but look at that average high. We're now 14 degrees way above it. And remember all that snow we were talking about wanting to slide down the hill there at the Freeman Health System campus? That's a thing of the distant past now. Check this out, our high temperatures for the past 10 days. Now, Tuesday right there, that's the magical day, that last Tuesday. Yeah, we got to a high of 13, but you have to remember, we had a morning low of minus 15. Took us a couple days, but now we have just stair-stepped up. At the same point in time, here we are, 23 days into February, and our average high still below the freezing mark. Shows you what that 2 weeks of that cold front did to us. Trying to press up against 70 here. If we look at Joplin, Neosho, Carthage is at 66. And this is interesting because Miami and Grove were actually stuck at 28 degrees earlier this morning before sunrise. They're now the clubhouse leaders, a 40-degree jump once that sunshine kicked in. And we're sitting high 50s to low 60s all throughout southeast Kansas. Let's go back to the Freeman Health System sky camera because I want to point out our humidity all the way down to 25%. That's dangerously low. Now, we don't have any red flag warnings. We don't have any high wind advisories. We've actually seen our wind kind of subside a little bit from yesterday. At the same point in time, I do want to point out that through portions of northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas, we're going to have elevated fire risks. Even though I want to say everybody up here, and I know you may have some limbs down on the ground from the ice and whatnot, today probably not the best day to do it. Just wait a couple days because we could get some additional rainfall here before the weekend. Best thing is to do to hang on, let our humidity increase a little bit, let our wind die down a little bit. Check out the color contour of the polar vortex. It's now just about to recede all the way up through Nebraska and Iowa, and will continue to pull up toward the Canadian border. Good news for us. All really the biggest storm system lasting through Big Sky country, and then we've got a good one right here in the Great Lakes that makes its way to the Mid-Atlantic. But that high pressure system is going to hang over us for today before it makes its way east. That'll provide us with a little additional cloud cover here for the latter end of the week and even a little bit of rain, but really nothing severe. So get out and enjoy the fresh air today. An absolutely gorgeous February day where it's unseasonably warm, and even overnight we're able to maintain our temperature in the 40s and do that with mostly clear skies. You know, usually we need a little cloud cover to trap in that heat. Not the case with the southwestern warmth that's coming in. As we work from Tuesday into Wednesday, you'll notice a sliver right there that pops up. Nah, not gonna do anything, very light. Pushes off to the south. Wednesday afternoon, looking good. A little bit cooler, 50s, pretty seasonable. Can't complain about that. And then as we get into the 7-day forecast, we're looking at high 40s, low 50s, and then gonna range from about mid to high 50s for Saturday and Sunday. Nice thing is, Tanya, those rain chances, those are not widespread. And at the same point in time, more importantly, as we close out February and get ready for March, not looking at anything severe.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that and looking forward to the warm temperatures. Thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4th state hero, Corporal Tyler Elston in the U.S. Marine Corps. Elston hails from Carl Junction, Missouri. We are proud to salute Corporal Tyler Elston, our 4th state hero. Looking to make a fish dinner that's full of lip smacking goodness? Today, Howard shares a recipe that's sure to deliver lots of yum. We're making lemon butter fish fillets in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
One of my favorite things to do is to saute some fresh fish. I love it because it always looks fancy and tastes great. And the reality is, it takes less time than picking up fast food. So let me show you how to make it. I start by dipping a few catfish fillets in some seasoned flour before dipping them in some buttermilk that I've mixed a few eggs with. From there, I bread them with, get this, some crushed saltine crackers. It gives us lots of crunch. After that, I saute them in a bit of oil until both sides are golden. It's hearty enough to saute, yet its flavor is nice and mild. While these finish up, we'll make a quick lemon butter sauce to spoon over them. Once the fillets flake easily, it's good to go. That's it. From start to finish, it's quicker than driving to pick up fast food. Serve this with some steamed veggies and dinner is done. To get the recipe for what we call lemon butter fish fillets, simply visit our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a fast and flaky way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Love me some fish. You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4 state market prices.
Tell the boss you're taking lunch outside today because it's absolutely gorgeous with temperatures pressing up close to 70 degrees as we work overnight. Managed to stay in the 40s. All that rain you see on the Wednesday panel going to stay down to the far south. We get a little bit cooler, but we can't complain coming off of what we've had the past 2 weeks. Tanya?
All right, well, coming up tonight at 5, researchers are developing a new rapid COVID-19 test that connects to a smartphone and can provide results in about 10 minutes. We check it out tonight in Health Watch. Plus, a Joplin family is reunited with the New York dispatcher who saved their lives in a house fire. We'll explain their story. And after voters approved it in June, Joplin schools break ground on a new $3 million addition to Kelsey Norman Elementary Schools. Join us for those stories and much more tonight on the KOAM News at 5.
I want to thank you all for joining Tanya and I for the KOAM News at noon. Of course, we'll see you all again tomorrow morning.
And the rest of the team will see you right back here at 5 o'clock.